Hi, I want to tell you why I'm here today. I lost my mother about 8 years ago to cancer when she was only 45. One reason I would name is the lack of rigorous safety testing for products and services, both commercial and public, as with the lead crisis facing our schools. Another reason would be the lack of healthcare access to underserved low-income communities and an absence of quality healthcare education. My mother, like many children still to this day, and myself, were all raised in this state where healthcare is still considered a privilege. Because of the need for a cultural shift in our way of thinking about health and safety, children continue to be exposed to risks that can lead to permanent damage and early death. Along with truly affordable housing, health and safety should be human rights belonging to every resident regardless of gender, race, sexuality, age, or documentation status. Today, I announce my candidacy for City Councilor in District 5 on these grounds, among many more. Right now, we're standing in front of PS 217 on Roosevelt Island, one of the many competitive schools in our district. Parents want to send their kids here. This is also the school that many news outlets, including DNA Info, reported as having higher lead toxicity levels than Flint, Michigan at the peak of the crisis. I drew two conclusions from this. One was that there's a severe problem in our consideration of the human rights that are health and safety. Second, I imagined how bad the test results could be in schools that are less well-loved, where the health and well-being of the students might be less of a concern because of lack of resources, class size, race, or the income of their families. In order to preserve public schools, we need to address the citywide crisis with greater urgency. Another issue which has motivated me to action has been the fight for affordability. I was born upstate and raised by my Puerto Rican family who left what was then called Spanish Harlem one by one because of affordability issues. When I got a job in engineering, I became the first person from my family in a generation who could afford to move back to Manhattan. I came back to a city administration that insists we should be pleased with bare minimums, housing lotteries, and tax write-offs for developers in exchange for what lobbyists and elected officials consider to be affordable. This is because affordability is calculated by an average across the entirety of Manhattan. We need to fight for true affordability. This involves more targeted calculations of what affordability means. The affordability curve should not be bent by the great wealth of the 1%. Our city, in District 5 in particular, has an abundance of creative people. We have across the city and the country fewer people going into fields that will make them into professional politicians. I think this is a good thing. I think this is a fantastic thing, and I see this with great hopefulness that as artists can help us to see the most complicated parts of ourselves and our world in new and exciting ways, creative young people like myself can bring new ideas and new energy and a committed resolve to solutions which many others will give up on. Often it feels as if elected officials have given up on the ideas of lowering rents, offering unconditional health care to all, permanently solving the homelessness crisis, or radically reforming law enforcement. Civil rights and human rights are not numbers games to me. They are not a series of concessions you make or rewards you offer. Together we can direct the city towards our shared ideals where we're no longer relying on the 1% to be compliant, but demanding that they are instead committed to justice, human rights, and a world where our goal isn't a mere visual representation of diversity, but a cultural and ideological example of inclusion. A world where we are happy to change our behavior if it means a benefit to all, whether we're talking about recycling, all gendered bathrooms, or public signage in all languages spoken by our residents. We will not beg for bare minimums and considerations. Our rights to affordability, health, and safety of our seniors and kids, whether in public schools or in public housing across from the 91st Street Waste Transfer Station, these will either be the primary goals of every elected official, or else they will have to find another district in another city, less savvy, less talented, and less beautiful to call their home. In this city and in this district, we take care of and provide for one another above everything else. Working together, we will make District 5 a proud example of what the term sanctuary city means, welcoming all and maintaining the well-being of every resident. Gracias a mi familia, mis amigos, y todos los residentes del Distrito 5. Thank you for your time. I hope to become the Democratic voice to advocate for District 5 this coming September.